We are delighted to welcome our first guest speaker for this evening. He has a long list of credentials, ladies and gentlemen. This man trained in medicine at Cambridge University and then specialised in paediatrics and moved to Perth in 1987, where he completed the PhD in respiratory physiology at the University of Western Australia. Can you give a massive round of applause to Professor Stephen Stick?
Thanks very much for that welcome. It's customary to start off, with welcoming the VIPs, but we're all equal here tonight, except the families that have been living with CF for decades, and they're really our very important people tonight. And as you heard, they're desperate for us to come up with a cure. I work with a group called AREST CF, which is a research group based in Perth. And what isn't understood is that CF is actually very common if you think about it in terms of chronic childhood diseases, particularly ones that are potentially fatal. There are as many kids under 10 with CF as there are kids with leukemia. The difference is the kids with leukemia, over 90% now are cured. But of course, kids with CF have a lifetime struggling, as you heard on the video. My mentor was Lou Lando. He came over from Melbourne in 1983 and set up the first CF clinics at Princess Margaret Hospital. And at that time, he made a decision that he wouldn't go to any of the kids' funerals. And I asked him why, and he said, well, there's 3 or 4 a year, and I travel a lot, and it'd be awful if I had to miss a funeral because I was overseas. It'd be just heartbreaking. So what's really changed is that it's unusual now for children to die from cystic fibrosis. We've done a fantastic job over the last 30 years that now we're causing a problem for the adult CF services because we hand on all of our kids. And whereas our numbers are static because it's a genetic disease and there's about 16 new cases a year, the adult services have to look after an expanding number. Every year they're taking on another 10 to 12 new cases. So anyway, just a little bit about that. There's about 24 carriers of cystic fibrosis in the room tonight. And, it's a romantic evening, and if 2 of you happen to get together later and make use of the hotel that's not... And in 9 months' time, there's a happy event, that child would have a 1 in 4 chance of having cystic fibrosis. Now, the average life expectancy in Canada at the moment is about 50 years. So we're a little bit behind Canada. They set up these multidisciplinary clinics about 10, 15 years before we did in Perth. But what's really good is that our clinic in Perth has the best outcomes in Australia. And also, it's probably in the top 5 internationally. Now I'm going to make a claim. You can't always believe the claims you see on TV. But this is a good one. It really is. You'll see, okay? We've been researching CF now for, as I say, nearly 30 years, and what we've seen is this. Our focus is on what happens in the first 5 years of life. And what's very clear is if you look here in terms of age, and you look here in terms of lung damage that we can pick up on a CT scan, and we were the first to use this sort of technique regularly to look at kids with CF. Even at 5 years of age, children separate out into those whose lung function, which determines how active and well they are, stays static over the next 10 years, and those who don't. They have damage that we can find on CT that's already separating these kids out when they're 5. So clearly, in order to do things better, we need to do things before kids reach the age of 5. And the good news is, the AREST CF research group knows exactly what we should be doing. It's not as if we don't know what needs to happen in the first 5 years to make a difference. We might not know exactly at the moment the details of which drugs we need to use or whether there's any new ones, but we know the pathway that's going to bring about the changes that will add 20 years of life, good years of life, to patients with CF. So, you don't have to take my word for this, that we can do it, okay? These are comments from the top medical journals in the world, saying things like, the implications of our work are profound, we can target children better, and it's taught us what every physician caring for young patients with CF should be aware of. We've got the knowledge, we need to be able to implement it, and we may need to make some new discoveries. And finally, in the world's top medical journal, the novel approach of AREST CF has led to a paradigm shift in our current understanding of early lung disease, in which we identify disease, treat it earlier, and potentially change the disease trajectory. That's the trajectory I showed you in those graphs earlier on. So, we know how to do it. Now, I just want you to humour me for a little bit. I want everyone between the age of 20 and 50 to stand up. You've got to do it, otherwise I'm going to look really stupid standing up here. Okay, so now I want you to sit down if you think you've achieved everything you'd like to achieve in life. Okay. The point here is, although the average life expectancy for someone with CF is 50 years, we're handing over children at the age of 18 to 20 to the adult physicians. It means that half the children born today with CF will die between the age of 20 and 50. Now, I want you to think about your hopes, your aspirations, and I want the people sitting down to look at your friends and loved ones and think about what you hope for them over the next 20 or 30 years. And just reflect on that for a little bit. Okay. I want you to think about all the things that you want to do in the next 10 years or 20 years. And I want the people sitting down as well to think about what they wish for you. And I want you to give generously so that the families and the kids in particular with CF today can have the sorts of dreams and aspirations that you have. So thanks very much.